Let's talk about something that might sound a little backwards. What if the very things you do to try and control a stutter are actually making it harder? Today, we're diving into that exact idea, this fascinating paradox from a therapy approach called avoidance reduction therapy. We're going to find out why hiding a stutter can be the very thing that creates the struggle.
Just let that sink in for a second. The very tools you use to control your speech are often the source of your greatest struggle. This is the core mystery we're unpacking today. It kind of suggests that all those survival skills that people who stutter develop, swapping words, those little physical helpers, they might actually be the villains of the story. So let's investigate.
So what exactly is this paradox? Well, it's this idea that whole toolkit of tricks you might use to get through a conversation, like swapping out a tricky word, using to get a running start, or even a quick head nod to push through a block, these aren't just random things. They're a super practiced set of survival skills. But here's the twist. They're often the very source of all the physical tension and mental burnout that makes talking feel like such a battle. Now, to really get this, we have to make a super important distinction. You've got the stutter itself, the repetitions, the blocks, and then you've got the struggle. The struggle is all the extra stuff, the tight jaw, the breath holding, that awful feeling of shame. And with this approach, our real target isn't the stutter, it's the struggle. That's the thing we're going after. Okay, so how do we go after that struggle? Well, this is where it gets kind of fun. Your first mission, should you choose to accept it, is to become a detective of your own speech. It's time to flip on the lights and see what's really going on under the hood when you talk. A lot of these struggle habits are so automatic, you might not even realize you're doing them anymore. They've just become second nature. And that's exactly why the first step isn't about fixing anything at all. It's just about noticing. It's about learning to spot these little habits out in the wild, in your own daily conversations. All right, every detective needs to know who the usual suspects are, right? Well, these secret habits, they're broken down into two main categories. And that makes it a whole lot easier to profile them and figure out what's what. The difference here is actually really simple, but so powerful. On one side, you have overt avoidances. Think of these as the things you don't do, the situations you just skip altogether. Then, on the other side, you have covert avoidances. These are the things you do in the middle of talking to try and hide or push through a stutter. So first up, let's look at the overt suspects. These are the big ones. Think of them like invisible walls that can seriously shrink your world. Staying quiet in a meeting even though you have a killer idea, or just letting your friend order your coffee for you. You can see how these really become major roadblocks in life. And then you've got the covert tricks. I like to call them the secret agents of struggle. These things happen right in the middle of a conversation. Swapping out a word you're afraid of for an easier one, or using a little head nod or a finger tap to kind of force a word out. These are the habits that really create that feeling of massive physical and mental effort when you speak. So, if you're going to be a detective, you're going to need a toolkit, right? Let's take a look at 3 really essential tools you can start using to identify these habits in your own speech. Okay, these are your main ways of gathering clues. First, journaling. It's as simple as just writing down what happened after a tough speaking moment. Second, recording yourself. And I know it can feel a little intimidating, but it gives you incredibly valuable information. And third, you can ask a trusted friend or a partner to be your mirror to help you notice the things that are completely automatic to you. Out of all these tools, journaling can be a real game changer because it takes things that are unconscious and makes them conscious. There are even dedicated apps out there like Voice Journey, which is designed to help you log these experiences and track your progress in a really structured way, right from your phone. So once you've identified a habit, you've basically cracked half the case. The other half is learning how to let it go. And the core strategy here is, well, it's powerful because it's so simple. You choose openness instead of avoidance. Okay, so let's just imagine for a second you've caught yourself in the act. You've noticed that you always nod your head to get unstuck on certain words. You see it. You're aware of it. So what's the next move? How do you actually disarm that thing? The strategy is basically to do the exact opposite of what the habit is screaming at you to do. So first, you feel the urge. Second, and this is absolutely the key, you inhibit it. You actively choose to keep your head still. Third, you let yourself stay in that moment of stuttering without fighting it. And finally, you just gently move forward into the word. You're literally removing the helper that was actually causing all the struggle in the first place. So what happens next is so important.
The result might still be a stutter, and that's okay. The difference is it's an easier, more open stutter. It's free from all that extra baggage, that extra layer of struggle and shame. And that, right there, is a massive victory. You know, this whole thing really just comes down to one powerful shift in perspective. The goal is no longer to be perfectly fluent. The new goal is to stop struggling with your speech. And that brings us to the end of this explainer, but it's really a beginning for you. So I'm going to leave you with this question to take with you. What's the one small, secret habit, a word swap, a filler word, a little physical trick that you can start looking for today? Your detective work starts now. And hey, if you want to keep exploring these tools, the team behind this whole approach has a fantastic YouTube channel called Voice Journey. You should definitely subscribe for more practical guidance on this path. We really hope this has been a helpful first step in your investigation.